But as you make the burn, as it gets closer to zero, as your relative inclination gets closer to zero, this starts to quickly shift. It swings up very rapidly to this point, halfway point, and if you keep burning, it'll go the other direction. And that happens very rapidly once you get to near zero. The analogy that I kind of think of in my own mind is that it's almost like having a compass in your hand while standing on top of the North Magnetic Pole, or while walking toward the North Magnetic Pole. As you get over top of the North Magnetic Pole, the compass just starts spinning because, you know, it doesn't basically know which direction to point anymore. But it's actually okay that it does that, because the very fact that it is spinning tells you exactly where you are. You know you're at the pole, because otherwise it wouldn't be spinning. So the odd thing here that we're going to do is we're going to make a change so that this white line starts to spin. And it might seem like an odd goal, like, why do I just want to add plane change until this just starts spinning? And if you kind of use that compass analogy, because once this starts spinning, then we know that that is our target amount of plane change. And it probably won't take too much, so let me just go to fine. And as I click on it this way, even try some medium, I can see that white line going that way. And if I reset it, and try to go the other way, see how quickly it spins? So that tells me that this is the better direction. This is the direction I want, because it spins rapidly at this point. In other words, I'm standing on top of the pole and it's spinning around, so that's the direction I want. And I just want to lay that down so that it's straight across the middle. So let me do a little bit of plane change, or change the sensitivity, and I'm going to go with it just like that. So now my hypothetical orbit has me coming around, basically touching the orbital altitude of the ISS. And again, this may change. It may require yet another mid-course correction a little bit later on. And I've got my plane change needle basically spinning at this point. Let me do one other thing. Because I've spent a little bit of time setting this up, my time is now was at about 30 or 40 seconds or so ahead of this. So I just want to reset the time just to make sure that nothing is changed and everything is still how I want. So I'm going to go ahead and do this burn now, even though it tells me the time's passed. But because of the fact that I'm quite a ways out, you know, the time, it doesn't have to be quite that accurate. If I wanted to, if I really wanted to, I could simply go to hyper setting here and move this forward to, say, you know, 66. And now I got a countdown. I can burn when that hits 0, but really it doesn't make any difference.
Rotation.
Just getting the green X lined up. here you can see our relative inclination getting a little better. And if I had orbit MFD up, you would also see our periapsis getting more closer to where I wanted.
Translation.
Now that's basically 0 delta V, close enough. Once you get down to those microbursts, it really isn't making a whole lot of difference at that point. So now I'm going to go over to View, Maneuver, and turn off Maneuver Mode. And that's it for that mid-course correction. So everything's looking pretty good. I've got the aligned plane MFD reporting that my relative inclination is less than 1 degree, and that's going to get even better on the next mid-course correction. We're going to do 2 mid-course corrections. The first one, that was the first one, and the next one will be done when we get to the point where Earth's gravity is the primary influence, but more specifically when we are at the next node, and that's 273,000 seconds away. That's this more specific time as to when we're going to do the next mid-course correction. And the next mid-course correction is primarily just going to be to bring this relative inclination the rest of the way down to 0, or as close to it as we can possibly get. So I'm just looking at some things here. Current periapsis is 328. We'll see if that holds. It probably will slip a little bit. But the next thing, just again, I'm going to fast forward time, use time acceleration just to get to the next node. And we can also, using transx, know about when that's going to happen, because this line will start to rotate around, and when it's almost lined up here with this green line, which is our current position, I guess you would say, then that will be the same time as the aligned plane MFD will be telling us that we are at the next node. So those are just 2 things that we can look at. So I'm fast forwarding time. See, this is coming down and this is getting closer to the green. Let me check the orbit MFD to see how. Okay, that's fine. Oh, obviously our relative inclination is going up. That's okay. We'll take care of it at this passage here. But the previous maneuver, the previous burn that we did, got us in the correct position so that we could make this next burn. At least that's how I understand it. Okay, let me check orbit MFD again. Pretty good periapsis still. And we're coming up to this node passage in a little bit. This is getting closer to the green. And this is still 26,000 seconds away. Counting down. Let me check orbit MFD again. See where we're at. Still 66,000 seconds away from periapsis, and our periapsis is still 427. We'll bring that down a little bit at the next mid-course correction. It's almost time for the mid-course correction. 98765, and we're also almost perfectly lined up over here. Okay, we're going to go back to real time and check orbit MFD real quick. Periapsis 426. Okay, bring up the align plane. Now let's turn maneuver mode on, and we're going to do what should hopefully be the last mid-course correction. I'm going to change some outward, and we just want to bring down the orbit a little bit. That should be fine, just like that. Go with 4. And on the plane change, I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to make this adjustment until the needle spins. And that's not going the right way. Or maybe it is, we'll see. Let me reset this. Try the other direction. And that can't be right. No, yeah, that's what we want. Okay, let me adjust this. Get a finer setting. Alright, well, Transx is confusing me again. That's not uncommon. But I know what we need to do here is just, since we're at the descending node, go normal plus, and we're going to burn until we got relative inclination down to 0. Probably won't be able to get it all the way to 0, but it should be better than it is now, obviously.
Rotation translation.
Got it all the way to 0. If that holds, that'll be nice. Now, take a look at the periapsis. And with basic orbital mechanics, the way we're going to improve the periapsis is just
rotation.
By we're going to do an inward burn, very, very small